you guys are kind of familiar with Node.js, right? So we can just go, like we can brush up those things again. We can discuss the basic things we need to get started with the Express part. From next class onwards, we can, I think I'm planning to do a login page, I mean like a login authentication system. So we can initially build a web server for handling the authentication API. So with that, we will be using Express for that. So for right now, let's brush up Node.js once again, and if we are good to go, we will take it in the next class. So if we are able to see my screen, okay, sorry, I didn't share it. One second. Are you able to see it now?
It's from
Sir, visible.
Okay, great. So so I have just created a new folder, and here okay, here we can, so see you, I assume that you guys already know how to use Node.js, right? How to install Node.js and how to do all the setups. Or do I need to go through that again, or is it fine for you guys if I just started? All good, right? Okay, anyways, if we want to check it, like whether Node and okay, so we need two things. One is Node and other is the npm. So to check whether we have these things, we can just execute this command in Node -p. This will give. Okay, I have a Node version of 20, and I have the npm version 10. So that is good thing to go. So initially, I'm gonna create a file, something known as like something. I can call it anything. It doesn't matter. So if I just call it server.js, okay. So I'm gonna initially take some basic things like okay, if my pace or the way I talk is if I'm going in a high pace, you can slow down. Okay, you can tell me to slow down, so I will reduce the pace. So the thing is like we know that in the JavaScript browser thing, we have a whole different thing like what to say. That's like here, there we have a window object which gives us the a lot of objects or a lot of things to play with. And in Node.js is actually we are using the JavaScript to make web servers, or we are using the JavaScript to run it as a backend. So Node is helping us to do that thing. Okay, so it is not same as like what we have done in the front end part. Okay, so here Node is like, here we are using Node to run the JavaScript as the backend thing. So here we have some things which is different, which is like here we can use the console.log, but the thing is like if you're using console.log, here we are not using the same thing which we used in the front end part. Here if I console.log hello, this thing is actually not using the window object. I mean, like if I take some browser, okay, I will some browser. Okay, if I take some browser and something, okay, if I just inspect it, okay, if I inspect it, you can see these things actually. Here I have a console, right? This thing is like is coming from an object known as window. Window has all this access to this console and everything. But in the case of Node, uh, we are having something like so like we are not having window here, but we are having global. Global has all the objects which we use in window, which is this thing is like same as that of global, like if sorry, it is same as that of global dot console.log. I mean, I'm not gonna confuse you with these things. Like we have some more things which is like set interval, set timeout, and those things. I will just okay, one second. Like one thing is like I will say console log. We can create a timer. I mean, this is some basics. Okay, the reason why I am talking about timeout, set interval is that today what I'm gonna take is like I'm gonna create a timer, and we're gonna create a server, and we're gonna use this timer somewhere in the server. So that's why I'm just brushing up how to use set timeout. So I'm gonna say this is like a console log, like timer starts. Okay, when it starts, we want to know the timer starts. Okay, before that, I actually forgot to tell something. If we are creating a Node project, what we have to do is like we have to create a package. Okay, This is no for that we will do is like we will write npm inst. So you guys npm init. Okay, that is what we use. So if I say in the terminal, I'm going to say like npm init, and if I can just simply put -5, this will I don't need to say yes every time. So if I say npm init -5, here you can see I have got a package.json. This is managing the entire thing, because like backend is actually complex thing. We will be having multiple files, we will be having multiple things to handle. I mean, we will be installing the packages which is created by other developers. We will be installing it using npm and stuff. So we have to maintain the package versions, because like if some project is using some kind of package, and later on another stage the newer version of that package came, and if you are using the older version, that will create some issues. So we have to maintain like the versioning and every stuff. Like for that we use this package.json. Here we have we can see a lot of things like scripts, keywords, names, version. Just ignore these things for now, and we're good to go now. So the thing is like, okay, so I'm gonna create a timer. I want to just say something like, just 1 second. Timer starts. Okay, so this is like simply a console log statement, and I'm gonna use something like set time mode. Okay, set time mode is actually okay. Here I'm gonna pass. So I'm not gonna write a normal function here. I assume that you guys are already familiar with arrow functions, and so and the set time mode. I will explain what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm gonna say console log something like this thing to be executed after 3 seconds. Okay. Hmm, okay. I'm gonna what this thing does is like here I have to give the timing like 3 seconds. Okay, so what I have written here is like set timeout and set interval, and these things are actually some kind of method in or function in Node. Okay, what it does is like here I'm creating an arrow function. I mean, this set interval takes two parameters. One is a callback function. One is a function, and other thing is like a some value. The function inside the arrow function, I have written that this is what I have to perform. I have to console log to be executed after 3 seconds. This is the thing I have to perform in the function. And what I have written, the thing is like, then the other parameter which I gave is like 3,000, which is actually in milliseconds. I'm telling that this thing to be executed after 3 seconds. Hmm? I hope like let's run it. Okay. So if I uh, 1 second. Um, okay, sorry. The thing is like if I'm gonna run this thing, if I'm gonna run the file which is like okay, okay, uh, this thing to be console log. Okay, the thing is you can see this thing is like set time mode, which is like this thing will actually. Okay, sorry, I'm really sorry for what I'm. Shit. Okay, what it does is like set time mode will do is like it actually initially this thing what I have written in the function will execute for the time which we mentioned. Here we mentioned 3,000 milliseconds. So this will time out after 3,000 milliseconds. So we can see that the time starts is actually uh, this thing is like this is what we have written, and this thing is executed, and after 3,000 milliseconds, it actually ended the thing. So if I go on further and write things like okay, so I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna create some counter. If I say the counter is initially creating a counter with value 0, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna create a set interval, which is like in set interval. What it does is like it executes something on a certain interval, something like 1 second or 2 second, based on what you set it to be. It also takes a arrow function or a function. Here I'm defining it as an arrow function. So something inside, which is like I'm gonna say console log. This is like I can use backticks. I'm gonna say something like count is. I hope you are familiar with ES6 syntax. So this is what it is saying is like I'm using this variable here. So this backticks are used when we want to use something like a variable to be printed here. So okay, so I'm saying this thing. I want to print the count on a certain interval, and I have to increase the count. Okay, counter is initially set to 0, and now I want to increase the count. Okay, so what is this is supposed to do is like I'm also going to pass the time. Okay, I'm gonna say 1 second because 3 seconds takes a lot of time. Okay, what this is supposed to do is like I want to initially I've set the count to 0. Then I said I want to print the count, which is actually count. Then I have to increase the count to plus plus, and every time what this thing repeats every 1 second. Okay, so I haven't created a function to stop this function, so this thing will execute forever or to infinity. If I test this thing, um, what is happening? So let me comment out this thing. Sorry. So you can see that the okay, this count. Okay, are you okay? Sorry, I'm really. I think my screen is a bit uh, small. I'm. I was just saying some random things and nobody's responding, so I don't know what is happening. So the reason is like I'm kind of sick today. I mean, I was having fever for last couple of days, and so okay, so the thing is like here you can see that the counter is executing for infinity, so I just quit it. So the thing is like initially like, because like see here we have a set timeout function. We can use that set timeout function to close this interval at a certain time period. So if I extend this function, if I extend this set interval thing with mm, okay, so the thing is like okay, if I want to say is like I only want to print it for what like I only want to print the count till 5. Okay, so what I can do is like I can say if the count is simple JavaScript what I'm typing. Okay, there is nothing much to do about Node.js. So if the count is 5, I want to do is like I want to stop the process. I don't want to print anymore. I'm just simply printing it like I'm saying like console log stopping the interval. Okay? Stopping. Okay, so what I'm saying is like if the count is equal to 5, I have to stop the interval. So what I can do is like here we have something like clear interval. We will use that here. So I'm gonna say clear interval, which is another all the method we have. I'm gonna say like okay. So here I'm gonna say that I have to stop this interval. This is happening. The count is increasing at every 1 second, and I have to stop this interval. But if I want to, that is why I'm using this clear interval method. But I want to tell the clear interval method that which function I want to stop. Here I want to stop this thing, so I'm gonna assign this to a variable like a const. So I'm gonna say like this thing to be like interval ID. I'm gonna say this thing is interval ID. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is like I'm going to say clear interval ID. What is wrong with the thing of count equal to? Why is it showing me? Okay, sorry. If I'm there is some kind of bracket syntax error. Okay. So the thing is, what I have written here is like I have just initially declared a variable count 0. Then I said like this is an interval which actually increase the count by plus means like increase the count by 1, and every 1,000 milliseconds, which is equal to 1 second. And I have already said that like if the count is 5, I want to clear the interval. I mean like I want to stop this interval. So I'm going to say I said clear the interval, and I actually initially said this to assign this to counts, and I just passed the ID. I mean the name. Okay. So if I run this thing, you can see that this thing should execute till the count is 5 and stop. Stop there. The timer starts and count is 1, count 2, count 3. It should execute till 4 and 5. Now this thing didn't work because like we have done something wrong. So we can just check what we have done wrong. So if I said that if the count is equal to 4, I have to clear the interval ID. Uh, so what is going on? What is going on? Okay. Okay. This is possibly due to no. This is possibly due to what? This is supposed to. Okay. I just let me save this thing. And this is supposed to work. Okay.
Oh, difficult ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. Line number.
No. The thing was like the reason was because like I didn't save the file. That is it. Nothing else. I forgot to press the command S, so that's why I I like okay. Now it just worked fine. The counter started with 0 and it executed 5 times and it stopped. Okay. So that is the basic thing about the interval and the set interval, like set interval and set timeout things. So which I think you already know about this. I think like Logesh has covered this thing earlier in the class. Okay. So and we have to talk about something like some modules. That is what we use in Node.js. We have one module known as HTTP, and the other module we have is FS, which is for file systems, and we have some other modules like events and stuff. So we with these basic modules we are good to go with the Node.js part. So I'm going to introduce the HTTP module. Okay. So I'm just let me comment this out. This thing as well. Sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about HTTP now. So if we want to, and these modules like HTTP and file system etc. are inbuilt modules to the Node.js part. So we don't specifically need to install any packages or install anything. But we use some modules which are built by some other developers or which are available on the internet. If we want to use those modules, we will install those first, and then only we will be able to use it. Okay. So here I'm gonna say we are gonna use we're gonna create an HTTP server. Okay, server is something which we will be getting. Okay, so if we want to use, so what we will be actually doing with the Node.js or Express part is like we will be creating some kind of web services. It could be an API. So what we does is like we will give some URL, which is actually we call it as an endpoint. So the front end guy or the front end team can access this URL and they can send request to this URL. The endpoint. They can send request to this endpoint and receive requests, responses from the using that URL. And that thing is like the server. The server is running continuously. Every time. And this every time we get a request, the server performs something and gives some response back. So here I'm gonna create a simple server. Okay. Using Node.js only. We are not going to use Express right now. So the thing is like for that we need some modules known as HTTP. So I'm going to initially import the module HTTP. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to use something like require. This is how we actually import. There is nothing much to think about it. This is how we import modules in Node. Okay. So here I said I'm using the HTTP module, so I just imported this thing. That is like same as that of what we use in React. We use it in such a way that from some package import this thing. If you have used React in the past or something, this is the way we are importing the module. I mean, like if we don't import this module, we won't be use its features. So first thing I'm gonna say is that I'm gonna create a server. So I'm gonna call it like I'm gonna assign this to so what I can do is like create a server. What I can do is like use this HTTP. I'm gonna see here we can see the lot of things which we can do with this thing. One of the thing is like create a server. I'm gonna create a server. So the server usually takes two things like the request and the response. So here we are going to initially see something like we'll be having request. Sorry. Okay, request and response. Okay, so I'm gonna define it like it's a function. If you want to use normal function, you can write normal function here, but I am using arrow function only. So we have already talked about arrow function, so I think you guys know about it. So I'm gonna say result. I mean the response dot end something like this response is like hello, hello, welcome to the server. Okay, this is the response. But this response, when do we have to give this response? When somebody requests something to the endpoint, we have to give this response. Here we have written the response here, but we haven't created some kind of the endpoint. So what we have to do is like here I just let me. So here I just simply created a server, but now I need a server to listen in some port. Okay. So what I'm going to do is like I'm going to say like sorry the server. Okay, the thing is like okay, I just created this thing, but I didn't assign it to some way. So I'm going to assign this to a cons, which is like server. So for that, then only we will be use this thing, right? Then so for that, I'm assigning it to server. And I'm going to say I'm going to call this server dot listen. I mean, this server should always keep listening. I mean, like we don't know when this front end is going to take. I mean, request something from the server. So the server will always listen to some port. So I'm giving that port. I hope you guys know about port, right? We in the system we will be having different set of ports, and these ports means like these are some kind of protocol, some kind of door which always keep listening, accept something. I mean, like some ports will be dedicated to some systems things, and we will be having some ports which are which we can use something like 3000, 8000, and a set of ports which we usually use. So here I'm telling that I'm listening in this 3000 port for a request. And then when I get some kind of request, I have to uh, give some response. So I'm gonna say here we need is like I will explain once I after finishing this thing. So I'm gonna say console log again. Console log. The server is running. Okay, the server is running on localhost. Okay, the server is now running on local. The server should now run on localhost. Mm, I think all good. One second. I have a call right now. One second. The time is 9 o'clock. One second. One second. Let me extend my time. Uh, okay. Okay. So the thing is like all good. I mean, we are now running a server on this localhost 3000 port 3000, which actually returns this response. So if I just simply run this thing. Oh shit! I just again I forgot to save the file. Okay, now if I just run this again, the server is running on localhost, and if I open my localhost, what is that? Localhost colon 3000. You can see that welcome to the server. This is the and if I just open the network tab, we can see that if I just if I clear this thing, and you can see if I reload the server, reload the endpoint, you can see that I got some responses like 200 response. You can see this thing. Let me expand this thing. Here you know that the request URL is 3000 localhost colon 3000 and the method is get because in we have a certain set of I mean I think I know like Logesh has talked about get post put and these kind of methods. These are a different set of methods which we use to the server for the server to process something. Uh, okay. Okay, so the thing is like here we are using get method because the front end actually uses the endpoint which is this thing localhost colon 3000 and using the get method then we will give them some responses. But and we have some other method known as post method. What it does is like the front end will give some inputs to the server. If we want to submit something to the server from the front end, we will do is like we will use the post method, but if we want to get something from the server, we simply use the get method. That is as simple as that. That is what is known as get. And here you can see the status code, which is 200, because like we successfully got the response. And we have some other status code, which is like 404, 500, and all these status codes at like mean something. 404 means the page is not found or some kind of error. 500 means like maybe I think like it's like internal server error. And okay, that is it. That is thing. And we also have said here we can see that response headers. See, here we are dealing with the backend. So the front end needs to know what the content the backend is sending and how we have to take this content and display and stuff like that. So the thing is like we have to mention that what kind of content we are giving them. Sometimes we will be giving JSON content, or sometimes we will be giving some HTML pages. So the we have to mention that what type of content it is. Okay. So that is like okay, connection is kept like accept. Okay. The content type is like if I just this is the response I got and this is the preview. And the header you can see the content type is not one second. Okay. Mm, connection. Okay, the content type I didn't mention the content type. So we can what we can do is like I can simply mention what type of content I'm sending. Uh, for that, what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna say, okay, here we can with the response. What I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna append something like I'm gonna say this is gonna be content type of I'm gonna say like this is gonna be successful response. I'm gonna say it's like 200 status code, and I'm gonna see the content type is okay. Here we have one thing to notice. So I'm not gonna write this thing to the yeah. What I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna write this thing to the head. Okay, header part. Right head. Okay, here you can see. We have two things when we request an endpoint we will be getting two things. One is like the payload or the body, and we will be having a header describes the file type, the status codes and stuff like that, and then we will be having some kind of body which actually has the data. Okay, so I'm gonna write this thing to the head. Okay, head part. I'm gonna say the status code will be 200 and the content type is actually content type is going to be like this is the way we do it. The content type. Okay, content type is content type is shit. Uh, so what I've written here is like I'm saying that I write this thing to the head that this is going to be a 200 success score with content type is going to be the content which I'm giving back as a response is actually text, plain text. Okay, that is what I have written here, and Okay, if I just see every time I press this control as this is not reloading. So what I have to do is like I have to control C and kill the terminal and run this thing again. We will fix this using node mode. Okay. Okay, in the header you will be able to see the response headers. Okay, here you can see. Here you can't see. Okay, request headers. Response header. Okay, the response header is like 1 second. What is it? Connection kept like where is the content? I have to also mention the right head is the okay. Here we have some error thrown, which is like cannot write headers after the are sent to the okay. The thing is like we cannot write header after sending this to the client because like we should be writing this thing in the first line. I think that's the issue. We should be writing this in the first line because initially we have to write the header part, then we have to uh, write the message or whatever thing. I think this should. I mean, let me close this thing and run again. I'm running the notepad, and if I reload this thing, here I can see the response headers. Okay, here you can see the content type. Okay, which I mentioned is like text slash plain. That is the content type I'm receiving. So here you can see that is not as the headers. So we this backend API is actually written a lot of information about the data which we are sending and the actual data and the what kind of data it is. And this headers include what these headers include the type of the data and the status code and stuff like that. And the response we will be having the actual response. I hope I made it clear. That is actually basic thing, very basic thing. Where is it okay for you guys? Anything? Any doubts?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm really asking because I think sometimes I'm making some kind of confusion because like I randomly say some things and if it's not fine for you, you can ask. Okay, so that is the basic thing about setting up a server using Node.js. And what some things which we forgot. Okay, I have like. Can somebody say that? Did Logage talk about file system module?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Okay.
No,
So what? Oh, what did you say? Did you say yes or no? I didn't hear it properly.
no, he didn't talk about it.
Okay. Okay, so we can talk about FS as well. File system is actually another module. What it help us to do is like we have to sometimes we will be getting some things from the data from the front end, and we have to write it in we have to store it in the back end, right? The one way to do is like we will be using databases. The next class we will start Express, and there we will use databases. And sometimes we don't use the databases. We will simply write it in a file and store it in the server side. Or maybe or we have to use something known as FS modules for that kind of things. So what I'm going to like do is like create a okay. So what thing is like let me comment out this thing again. Okay, to use the FS module, we have to import it. Okay, so just like how we imported the what HTTP module, we can just say concept as equal to require uh, require require and then FS module. These things are inbuilt modules. Okay, that's why we don't need to install anything. And this thing has a lot of things to do with like FS has some features like write. You can see like FS can all those things. The FS can write. You know, FS can write file. FS can do a lot of things like create directories, rename directory, you can remove directory, and a lot of things. So I will give some example. Let me think something. What I can do is like I will in connection. What I can do is like Uh, okay, I can create a file maybe. Okay. Mm, actually, I have a call at 9. I mean, I just postponed it to some time, and the thing is like, mm, okay. So, okay, let's do something. Let's actually use this FS module to create a directory, create a file, and append some contents to the file. Okay. So, for that, what we can do is like initially to create a directory, we can do like mkdir, which is actually, if you guys are familiar with Linux commands or some kind of terminal commands, you know that mkdir is actually a command to create directories. Directories means folders. We call it as directories. If I want to create a directory, I will call it like something like test directory. Maybe. Okay, I'll call this as test. Okay, and I'm gonna say it's like this thing is actually the FS module actually does like it has a lot of functions. mkdir is one of its method. Okay, and it takes the directory name as the first parameter. Then what it does is like it takes some optional things. Here again, so whatever I will tell what we are going to pass there, and I'm going to say like it is going to take a callback method also. This is going to be callback method, which is if while creating some this thing, if some kind of error is shown, we have to pop like call back, like we have to throw that error. So what I'm going to do is like I'm going to create an arrow. This is an arrow function, okay, which is taking a parameter error. Okay, and what I'm going to do, like if there is error, I have to throw the error. Simple. If error, if there, I have to if error, I have to throw the error. Simply, there's a throw the error. That's it. Also, let me. I will. If there is no other, I will say that directory created successfully. Uh, Directory created successfully. Okay, here I can see pass something like a recursive equal to true, which actually does is like it actually ensures that the parent directories are created if they don't exist. Mm, or I can just simply yeah, I will say like recursive is true. I'm just simply saying like recursive is true. Okay, so the thing is like the module which we are using is FS. Okay, FS is the module we imported it in the first line, and then we are saying that we are using the mkdir function, which is the function or method. Okay, the method we are using in from the FS module. This module, what this method does is it creates a directory, simply a directory, another directory inside this directory. And I'm saying that we are having some optional parameter. It ensures that the parent directories are created if it doesn't exist. And then the other thing is like it. This is actually a error handling method. This is actually a callback function which handles the error during what the creation. Okay, that is it. I mean, so we are saying that if error, we have to throw error. Otherwise, say that console.log directory created successfully. So let's test this thing. Test this thing. So this thing I'm gonna see. Okay, let me save this thing again. If I just so we can see the directory created successfully. Can you see this directory? This is the directory which created using this script. This is the JavaScript we have written to create this directory. When we executed it, we know that the directory created. This is we use this scenario when somebody has something, some front end or something, give us some data. We have to store it somewhere in the server in some folders. If we have to store some data of a certain user, we will create a directory for that user and store his data in that directory. Some kind of scenarios can common scenarios may come. So the next thing we have to do is like we have to write some file. We have to create a file. Okay, we have to create a file and write the contents to it. Okay, so for that thing we can do like write file is another thing. Okay, I'm gonna just comment out this thing for now. I'm gonna say fs dot write file, and I'm saying I'm gonna give the directory which is like we know that it is in the test. Okay, I'm gonna also give the file name. I want to say it's like test dot or something like index.html maybe. And I'm gonna next I'm gonna say is like I'm gonna give the content. The content is gonna be something. I'm gonna say something like I'm sorry guys. Okay, this is what I'm what is happening? Okay. So this is some content. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna write to a file. I'm gonna write a file. I'm gonna create a file and write contents to it. So the first thing, the initial parameter which this method accept is actually the name of the file or where it should reside. So I have said that this is gonna locate inside this test directory slash index.html, which is the name of the file. Okay. This is actually the path of where the file should exist. Okay, I hope I made it clear. And next thing is the content to be written in the file. And as usual, like how we return the make directory thing, we have to use a callback method, which is actually an arrow function, which is gonna perform what? So I'm gonna in the arrow function, I'm gonna say if okay, I forgot to use the error. If some kind of error is present, if error, throw error. Because like creating directories, files, they are prone to errors, right? There are chances of errors throw up. So we have to always handle the errors properly. Otherwise, if there is no error, we have to say that console log file created successfully. File created successfully. Successfully. I think this is the right spelling. I don't remember. Whatever. So the right file created successfully. This is simply a simplest method way to use the write file method. It actually write a file to this certain path. The content is we mentioned here, and then we are passing the callback method, which returns some error. So let me run this thing. Okay. Here, if everything goes as planned, what this will does is it will create a file inside this test directory, and that file will have this content. That is it. That is it. I'm running the server. File created successfully. So let's check this directory. Okay, we know that file created, and inside that we can know the content. We know the content. This is the content. Okay, that is the basic way to use write file. And one thing is like if I want to add some contents to this thing, I don't if I write this once again, if I write file once again to this thing, what it does is that it will override the content. Okay, it will just entirely change the content. I mean, which means it will override. But if I want to append the contents, okay, if I want to, okay, again, I will just simply show. I will simply, if I just write, if I change the content, overridden content, overridden or something. I don't know the spellings. Okay. If I just simply run the server again, if I check it, you can see that the content has been overridden. But I don't want to overwrite. I just want to append the files. I just want to append things to the file. So what I will do is like I will simply say fs dot. I will use the other method. Okay, I'm gonna just comment out this thing. I'm gonna use the other method which is like fs dot append file. Okay, it is same as what we have written here. We will be giving the path name first, the path name, and then we will say something like I have to append the content, right? I'm gonna get past the content, something I don't know. Okay, then I would also say like the callback function of the error. I was going to copy it from here. If error, I have to throw the error. Otherwise, doesn't care. Okay. Whatever for like. Okay, what is that? Uh, if error, throw error. I'm sorry. Okay, I forgot to close this thing. Okay, sorry. What is Paris service? Can somebody find out what's the problem? Okay, okay, fine. This is the problem. Okay. fs.append file. I'm giving the directory and the path of the file where I'm going to override it, and I'm giving the content. I'm giving the if there is some kind of error, I have to throw the error, and I'm just running it again. File created successfully is again the message, and this time it didn't override. It appended the content. But if I want to append the content to the next line, what I can do is like simply pass /n, which is like I can just simply say /n here. Okay, /n does is like it will append, it will create this thing in the new line. If I run this thing again, this thing next time it is written the new line. That is some simple basic things to do. And also one more thing is like a read file. Okay, we have this. We have to now read the file. We have created the file. We know how to append the file. We know how to create a directory. Now we need to append the read the file which we have created. For that we have the another method. For everything we have methods. Okay, so if we are some kind of programmer in the early stages, I mean, early age, we have to write these things. But right now, we have modules for everything. We just simply have to use the modules. Okay. We are learning how to use these modules. That's it. It's as simple as that. So I'm gonna take this. So I'm gonna read this file. This is the path of the file which I want to read, and I'm gonna just I'm gonna say here also I have to take something like optional parameters, but I will tell you if I'm not taking it like this, and I'm gonna say same like the callback function. Okay, so I'm gonna say error, comma. Here I'm gonna take one more thing, which is the data which we get from the when we read the file. Okay, so okay, if error, we have to throw error. That is it. As simple as what we are doing. If error, we have to throw error and console log. We have to console log what? We have to console log the file content. The file content is like comma data. So what I have written here is like I'm saying that we are going to use this function read file. It is going to read this file test/index.html, which is in okay. This is the path, and I'm saying that we are in the callback function. I'm saying that if there is error, I have to throw error, and another parameter which I passed in the callback method is the data. This is the data we take from the file. Okay, we have to display that here. That is why we are taking it. That is why we included in the parameter, and we have to console log this thing. If I just run this thing, console.log, I forgot to put log here. What is it, man? Okay, if I just okay, here you can see we are returning the file content, but you can see something like a buffer here, but we are not returning the actual contents. We are returning buffer instead. The reason is that these things are actually stored in as a buffer in the storage in the memory, right? So, but we don't know. But for a human, we cannot read the buffer, but we have to convert it into some way where the humans can read. That is where we use something known as UTF-8, which is the text encoding type. We have to say that this thing to be converted to UTF-8. Okay, UTF-8. If I don't know. I think this is. I think I have to put an iPhone. No, this is no. Okay, UTF-8. So I'm saying that the content of the file is going to be UTF-8. Okay, so that next time I won't be getting this buffer response. Instead, I will be getting the actual data. What is not defined? UTF-8. Do I have to? No. The thing is, like I forgot to put it in the This thing will work. Okay, here you can see like a file. Oh shit. Here you can see the actual file content. Okay, file. This is the what we written here. File is console log file, and the data part is this is the data part. What we are exactly like how we written. In the next line we go to this printer, right? So that is what is about reading the file. Okay. Uh, I think it's okay with what I said. Or can you just turn on the mic and say something?
Yeah, we have understood.
That is some basic things. I think yeah, you guys already know. You might already may know this thing, but uh, I the thing is like yeah. Sorry, but like next time, like from the next class, we can take a go with the express and take some serious things like let's get on to login and stuff. Okay, I think we can cover the login thing in one class itself. I mean, basic basic stuff technically. So, okay, one thing I forgot to mention is node mode. I mean, like every time I make some changes in the server, I have to hit the control C and then I again run the server. This is not how we actually do it. When we are in the development environment, what we does is like we will every time we make a change, we just simply press command S and this thing will auto reload. I will send it. For that, I will comment out every command, every code which we wrote. I'm gonna comment out this thing and this thing. I'm gonna go ahead and take the server part. Okay. Here we can see we have a server here. So if the thing is like I have to run the server is running on localhost. If I open the localhost, yeah, bother. Where is it? If I open the localhost, it is running there. But if I make something, sorry, this is on. Sorry. Okay. So if I make some changes here, welcome to the server again. Okay. If I make the server and say make some changes and command us or save this file, it is not automatically changed here, right? What is it? Okay, here it is not automatically seen. So what I have to do is like I have to stop the server. I mean I have to stop the server and to start the serving again. That is hectic. That is not what we do usually. So what we do is like we can do is like it depends upon what kind of package we are using or what kind of thing we are using. If it's in the case of Python, we are using FastAPI or something. There we have UVCon, which has some kind of method to auto reload. And in the case of Node.js, we use node mode. I have to install node mode first. I'm gonna say npm install. I'm gonna globally install node mode. Okay, node mode. Or what we can do is like I will install this as a dev dependency. The thing is I will let you know. I will tell you why installing it as a dev dependency. I will tell you what dev dependency means. I'm installing node mode. So you can see that in the package.json we have now we have node mode here. But node mode is inside dev dependencies. The thing is we usually don't need to push when we are pushing this to a production environment, which means like when we are deploying the code at the server, we only when we know we need this node mode only when we are in the local system, because every time we make some changes we have to control us and this thing auto reload. But in the server we don't need to reload this thing every time. We just simply run the server and it does. We don't need to use node mode there. So if we don't want to use something there in the server, we just want to ignore it. So what we will include it in the dev dependencies. So this is now installed as a dev dependency. But when I push this code or when I give this code to somebody, this thing won't be installed when when they install the package JSON. That is it. That is it. That's a simple thing. Hmm. I'll let you know how to use the node mode. So what I can do is like same thing. I can say instead of running it as like an odd thing, I can say nodemon server.js. Okay. What seriously? Seriously. Seriously, that's what more? In the node module, there's a one package is created. It is like node modules. It contains all the things related to what we have installed. I just installed it, right? So it should start. Okay, I'm gonna say like something like okay. Okay, I forward to write. Okay, I will write the script. Okay, I want to say node more. File name it is like server.js. What is happening? Okay, forgot the comma. Okay, I just wrote a script which is like this thing, node mode file operation. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna say npm run dev. Yeah, it is working. So I will explain what I have done here. The thing is like I simply installed node mode first using this command, and I actually installed it as a dev dependency. That is why it is added here as a dev dependency. Then I wrote a script. This is one script which we already have. It is start script. If I just simply say npm start, this thing will. If I npm run start, what it does, it will start Node.js part. Okay, so I mean it will execute this script. But if I say npm run dev, which is the next script to execute, and what does it? I have written the command to execute. Okay, that is node server.js, and this will. Okay, now it is running as a server. Now you can see that if I say, make some changes in the server file, here if I append something like yeah, server again to for testing. Here I'm not going to stop the server or anything. I'm just going to simply press command does or save the file. Here you can see it automatically reloaded and the content has been changed. That is it. That is as simple as that. That is why we use node mode. And that is some that we have already covered everything about node. This is what you have to know about node to get started. And if I don't know whether you guys believe it or not, but we have covered node. That is it. There is nothing much we needed at this point of time to go with Express. So I think we already covered everything we needed for it. So that is it. So what is it? That is it. So thanks for joining. And so you guys have any questions or something? Hello, hello.
No, sir.
Yeah.
No
See,
question.
no questions, huh? So I don't want. Okay, can you? Okay, let me end the recording then. Okay, okay. I'm stopping the recording.